What you did this morning caused the universe to cancel all its plans. Heaven is recalibrating. Something happened this morning that even you didn't notice, and yet it completely changed the direction of your life. The universe had a plan prepared for you today, a plan that had been quietly coming together for weeks, perhaps months. But something you did, something so small you likely forgot it within minutes, forced heaven to stop, look down, and reorganize absolutely everything. Do you know what that means? It means that at this very moment, as you hear these words, there are forces working in your favor that you cannot even imagine. There are doors closing to protect you from the wrong paths, and others are silently opening to lead you towards something your heart has been waiting for years. But before you understand what actually happened this morning, you need to hear what came before. Because what occurred was no accident. It was the direct consequence of an invisible battle you fought while you slept, a battle you probably have no memory of, but one your spirit deeply recognizes. By the end of this message, you are going to understand why your energy has changed today, why certain people will begin to drift away from your life in the coming days, and why the prosperity you have been waiting for so long is finally finding its way to you. Stay until the end, because there is a specific revelation about your current situation that you need to hear before this day is over. Last night was not a peaceful night. Even if your room was silent, even if nothing dramatic happened around you, a silent war was waged inside you that no human eye can see. It wasn't a physical war, it was something much deeper. It was a war between versions of yourself. The version that wants to move forward, that wants to prosper, that wants to finally breathe freely, was facing off against another version, an older, more tired version, a version that carries fear, disappointment, hesitation, exhaustion, and emotional weight that doesn't even belong to you. Most people never realize this is happening. They wake up, pick up their phone, continue their routine, and never stop to think about what their mind was processing while they slept. But something changed last night. Something inside you finally got tired of surviving the same emotional cycle over and over again. That's why this morning felt different. It was as if a part of you silently disconnected from something that had been clinging to your spirit for far too long. And even if you can't name it, you feel it. You feel it in the way your chest breathes a little more freely. You feel it in that strange stillness that appeared without permission. You feel it in that small inner voice that said this morning, almost in a whisper, "Today is different." There was something around you prepared for your collapse today, and when that collapse didn't happen, the entire energy of the situation began to shift. This is something very few people understand. There are people, environments, and patterns that become comfortable with a certain version of you. The exhausted version, the emotionally reactive version, the version that doubts itself, that over-explains, or that breaks under pressure. And even if people don't consciously recognize it, they begin to expect that version of you to show up every time. They have built their responses, their comments, even their expectations around that defeated version of you. But this morning, your energy moved differently. Perhaps you remained calm when tension tried to pull you in. Perhaps you stopped feeding a conversation that normally would have ruined your entire day. Perhaps you carried yourself with a silent certainty that even you didn't fully understand yet. Whatever it was, something changed in the emotional atmosphere around you. Because calm is spiritually disruptive. People think power always looks loud, emotional, dominant, or intense. But some of the most powerful energies a human being can carry are emotional stability in a moment designed to break them. Peace confuses people who are prepared for your chaos. And the strangest thing is that the moment you stop emotionally cooperating with negativity, certain situations begin to lose their grip on you entirely. The same pressure that used to consume you starts to feel weaker. The same people who used to affect your mind begin to feel easier to let go of. All because for a few moments this morning, you carried yourself as someone who was no longer available for emotional defeat. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think the universe only responds to big actions, big sacrifices, big moments. But the truth is that the universe notices invisible effort more than anything else. It notices the mornings when you had every reason to have a mental breakdown, but chose to keep going anyway. It notices the private battles for which no one applauds you, The moments when you wanted to give up, disappear, stop trying, stop caring, but you still forced yourself to move forward silently without needing the world to validate you for it. That kind of effort does something on the spiritual plane. Not because of karma in the empty sense of the word, but because existence itself is built on the principle of balance. Energy given always creates energy returned. The universe cannot continually take real effort from a person without eventually responding to them. And this morning, you gave something real. You gave discipline when exhaustion would have been easier. You gave hope when negativity would have been more natural. You gave movement when your mind was trying to convince you to stay emotionally stuck. That matters more than you think. Many people are waiting for life to reward them, while they secretly feed hopelessness every day. But this morning you interrupted that pattern. You put a different kind of energy into the world, and once that happens, things begin to slowly reorganize behind the scenes, in places your physical eyes can never see. There are spiritual meetings happening at this very moment regarding your life, your path, and everything you thought was lost to you. And here comes something I need you to understand with absolute clarity. Something in your energy this morning became extremely difficult to disturb, and whether you notice it or not, people can feel it. Not because you've become cold or emotionally distant, but because you stopped carrying the same desperation that used to drain you. There is a massive spiritual difference between wanting something and needing something to validate your existence. The moment a person stops emotionally begging life, their entire presence changes, and I believe that is exactly what happened to you this morning. Perhaps you still have problems. Perhaps you still feel uncertainty about your future. Perhaps there are still things you deeply wish to change. But for a moment, your energy stopped chasing. You carried yourself differently, more anchored, more stable, less emotionally available for chaos. That kind of energy naturally creates protection. Many people unconsciously attract confusion into their lives because desperation makes them spiritually easy to influence. It makes them overreact, overthink, overshare, and overpursue. But when someone becomes internally quieter, even briefly, the world begins to respond to them differently because they are no longer volunteering for suffering. Peace is not weakness. Peace is what happens when your spirit gets tired of negotiating with chaos, and the powerful thing is that you don't even need to announce this change for people to perceive it. Human beings can feel when someone has stopped looking for approval in everything around them. It changes the way people speak to you. It changes the way pressure affects you. It even changes the opportunities that begin to move toward you, because spiritually anchored energy is hard to manipulate. Doors that previously seemed shut begin to crack open. People who didn't see you before begin to notice you without you even trying. Situations that seemed stuck begin to move mysteriously. And all of this happens not because you worked harder, but because you became internally more stable. That stability is what the universe rewards, because it proves you are ready to receive without losing what comes to you. Most people think communication only happens through words, but spiritually, energy always speaks first. Before you say anything, before you explain yourself, before people understand what you are going through, your energy already communicates the condition of your spirit. And this morning, whether you realized it or not, you sent an extremely powerful message. Perhaps you woke up exhausted. Perhaps you still carry uncertainty, emotional pressure, disappointment, or confusion about where your life is headed. But despite all that, you continued. You carried yourself with a certain dignity. You got up and participated in life instead of emotionally collapsing into hopelessness. That sends a signal, not just to the people around you, but to the spiritual plane as well. Because there is something extremely powerful about a person who keeps moving forward silently without needing applause every 5 minutes to continue. The universe pays attention to the people who continue even when nothing around them is applauding for them yet. And honestly, that is usually where true strength begins. Not in the loud moments where everything works perfectly, but in the private moments where a person decides they are never going to abandon themselves again. This morning, your energy said something without words. It said, "I'm still here. I'm still moving. I'm still standing." And spiritually, that kind of message carries enormous weight. More than you can imagine. One of the biggest lies people believe is that spiritual change only occurs through massive moments. People think everything has to be dramatic, perfectly timed, deeply emotional, or visually impressive before it has real meaning. But honestly, the universe has always responded more strongly to silent consistency than to loud intensity. What you did this morning mattered because it was real. You didn't do it because everything suddenly became easy. You didn't do it because your life is perfect now. You did it while carrying uncertainty, while carrying emotional weight, while you still had questions for which you don't fully know the answers. And spiritually, that totally changes the value of the action. Anyone can move forward when they feel powerful. Anyone can maintain hope when life constantly rewards them. But the moments that truly move reality are those in which a person chooses not to abandon themselves while nothing around them is giving them immediate proof that things are improving. That is why small acts become spiritually massive. Something as simple as getting up with discipline while your mind feels exhausted can carry more spiritual weight than 100 empty affirmations spoken without conviction. Choosing patience when you are irritated. Choosing dignity when life feels unfair. Choosing movement while you are emotionally drained. Those moments do something to your spirit because they prove that your direction is becoming stronger than your emotions. The universe trusts people who continue without needing constant evidence first. And that is important because most people unconsciously build their entire lives around emotional permission. They only believe in themselves when they feel inspired. They only stay disciplined when motivation is high. They only keep hope when life responds to them immediately. But spiritually mature people operate differently. They understand that some of the biggest changes occur long before visible results arrive. That's why this morning carried so much power. Perhaps you thought you were just surviving another day, but spiritually, your actions communicated something much deeper. They communicated reliability. They communicated resilience. They communicated that your spirit is learning to move independently of temporary emotional conditions. And once that begins to happen, reality starts to respond differently, because you are no longer moving like someone who is about to emotionally collapse. And now I want to talk to you about something that probably no one has ever told you. Something that will change how you understand the next few days of your life. There is an ancient tool, a knowledge that has been hidden for generations, known by very few, but designed precisely for people like you. People who have been through too much, who have carried more than their share, and who are finally ready to receive what life has been owing them. It is called the Fortune Matrix. It is not an empty promise, it is not superficial motivation. It is a deep energetic structure that connects the internal actions you are beginning to take with the concrete prosperity your soul has been silently asking for years. What your energy did this morning is exactly the kind of internal movement that the Fortune Matrix amplifies. Because when a person becomes internally stable, abundance no longer disturbs them, no longer corrupts them, no longer slips through their hands like water. The Fortune Matrix is designed to channel that inner stability into tangible results, into visible opportunities, into the attraction of wealth that you have deserved for far too long. And if you are hearing this, it is because your spirit brought you here at the exact moment. Later I will tell you how to access it. For now, keep absorbing this truth, because there is something even deeper you need to understand about what happened today. Every time life becomes uncomfortable, your future changes the moment your spirit becomes more committed than your excuses. Many people miss the opportunities destined for them because they underestimate the value of small obedience. Many people are secretly delaying their entire future because they believe they need to be completely healed before life can finally begin for them. They think purpose only arrives once they become completely confident, completely disciplined, completely at peace, completely sure of themselves and their direction. But that is almost never how life actually works. Most people are built while they are moving. And honestly, that realization changes everything, because it means you are not disqualified from your future just because you still carry scars, doubts, confusion, or emotional exhaustion. Some of the spiritually strongest people are not those who never struggled internally. They are those who kept walking forward while still carrying unfinished battles within themselves. That is why what happened this morning matters so much. Perhaps you still have moments where your mind becomes heavy. Perhaps you still have habits you are trying to overcome. Perhaps you still feel insecure about your purpose, your relationships, your future, or your direction in life. But despite all that, something inside you still chose movement instead of surrender. That matters spiritually, because purpose is rarely handed to perfect people. Purpose usually creates the person while they are carrying it. The path heals people while they walk it. And once you understand that, you stop waiting for permission to become who you were meant to be. You stop believing you need one last big breakthrough before you are finally worthy of happiness, success, peace, love, or spiritual alignment. You realize that growth itself often happens in motion. Think about how many people spend years emotionally preparing for a life they never actually start. They keep waiting until the fear completely disappears. Waiting until confidence becomes automatic. Waiting until they finally feel ready. But life doesn't work that way. Life rewards the one who moves forward with fear, not the one who waits for the fear to go away. It rewards the one who acts with doubts, not the one who waits until they have all the answers. It rewards the one who takes the step with trembling hands, not the one who dreams without ever moving. Now I want you to think seriously about this for a moment, because it goes deeper than just your morning or your mood today. Many of the struggles that people carry throughout life were never originally theirs to begin with. The fear, the emotional closing off, the constant expectation of disappointment, the instinct to stay small, stay silent, avoid risk, avoid visibility, avoid hope. These patterns do not appear randomly. They are passed down slowly through environments, experiences, reactions, and survival habits that are repeated so many times they begin to feel normal. And eventually, people stop questioning them. They think, that's just who I am. But sometimes what people call personality is actually inherited survival energy that has been moving silently through a family line for decades. That is why what you did this morning matters more than you think, because the moment you chose differently, even in a small way, something ancient was interrupted. Perhaps no one in your entire bloodline responded to pressure the way you did today. Perhaps no one ever chose peace over emotional destruction. Perhaps no one ever kept moving forward without becoming bitter first. Perhaps no one ever believed they deserved more than just surviving. But this morning you did, and spiritually that is not a small thing. People underestimate how powerful a changed reaction can be. They think change only matters once it becomes externally visible. But reality actually begins to shift the moment someone breaks an internal pattern that has been unconsciously repeated for generations. The most powerful revolutions begin in places no one can see. That is why some people feel resistance the moment they begin to evolve emotionally. It is because they are no longer cooperating with the identity their environment trained them to carry. They are no longer feeding the same emotional loops that everyone who came before them accepted as inevitable. And honestly, the universe reacts strongly to that because it is rare. It is rare to find someone who breaks the cycle. It is rare to find someone who says, this far and no further. It is rare to find someone willing to feel the pain of transformation instead of the familiar pain of repetition. And when the universe finds that person, it doesn't leave them alone. It conspires in their favor. It moves pieces on the board that you didn't even know existed. It finds you while you are driving, while you are walking, while you are in silence, and it whispers to you, I see you. I know what you are carrying. I know what you are choosing. And I'm going to respond to you. There is a version of you that has existed silently in the background of your life for a long time. Not a fake version, not a fantasy, not some impossible future identity that only exists in your imagination. I am talking about the real version of you that has been sitting just beyond the fear, the exhaustion, the distraction, the survival mode, and the doubt all this time. And I believe that this morning, something finally opened the door for that version to begin entering your life. Most people think becoming who they are meant to be requires transforming into someone completely different. But that's not really what happens. Real growth usually feels less like becoming someone new and more like finally allowing the most honest version of yourself to manifest without being constantly blocked by fear. The real you is not lost. It has been waiting for permission. And for a long time, Perhaps your inner world was not stable enough for that version of you to arrive completely. Not because you were weak, but because survival takes up too much space mentally and emotionally. When someone spends years simply trying to emotionally survive life, they don't always have the energy to become themselves fully. But something changed this morning, not in a dramatic and cinematic way, more quietly than that, almost gently, as if part of your spirit finally got tired of standing outside its own life, waiting for the perfect moment to begin. And honestly, that image feels important, because I believe many people have unconsciously abandoned parts of themselves over the years. The hopeful version, the confident version, the creative version, the peaceful version, the version that believed life could actually become beautiful instead of just manageable. But those parts never completely disappeared. They waited. They waited in silence, patiently, faithfully. And today they heard that you are ready. That's why certain mornings feel emotionally different. Even when nothing externally has changed yet, something internal begins to reorganize. You start reacting differently, thinking differently, carrying yourself differently. Not because you forced it, but because your spirit is slowly making space for a more honest way of existing. And once that process begins, it becomes very difficult to go back completely to who you used to be. It is important that you understand this, because in the coming days you are going to notice something strange. You are going to notice that certain conversations that used to attract you begin to bore you. You are going to notice that certain distractions that used to consume you no longer have any flavor. You are going to notice that certain people begin to feel distant, not because anything bad happened between you, but because your inner frequency no longer matches theirs. And that's okay. It's necessary. Because for the real version of you to arrive completely, there are smaller, older, more limited versions that have to make room. And here is the climax of everything I'm telling you. Here is the central truth that changes the entire interpretation of your life from this moment forward. What occurred this morning was not a fluke. It was a spiritual graduation. The universe watched you for years. It saw you fall and get back up. It saw you cry in silence when no one was looking. It saw you choose the wrong people, the wrong words, the wrong paths, and still never abandon yourself completely. And this morning, when you performed that small act, that small movement of faith, that small decision to continue, despite everything, heaven declared that you were ready. Ready for something that had been waiting for you since before you were born. Something that no human eye had been able to convince you that you deserved. Something your heart had been hesitant to accept, even as it approached. And that is why the universe cancelled all its previous plans for you. The plans based on who you were yesterday no longer apply. The plans based on your fears from last year no longer apply. The plans based on who your family expected you to be no longer apply. There is a new draft being written right now about your life, and this draft finally reflects who you really are instead of who you were forced to be. This is where the fortune matrix becomes crucial for you, because now that you have been spiritually recalibrated, now that your energy is aligned with abundance instead of survival, you need a structure that channels all that inner movement into external results. The fortune matrix was not created for people who are asleep. It was created for people like you, people who finally woke up internally and need a map to translate that awakening into real prosperity, real money, real opportunities, and real relationships that reflect the new level of their spirit. If you have felt for years that you deserve more, if you have felt that your financial life, your emotional life, and your professional life do not match what you carry internally, the fortune matrix is the missing tool. Further down, you will find how to access it in the description. But before that, I want you to finish absorbing this message, because there is one final thing you need to take with you. As you listen to these words, I want you to recognize something important. You are here because something inside you recognized a truth. The people who tune out halfway through messages like this are the people who are not yet ready, but you made it to this moment. That means your spirit is active, it is alert, it is tuned in. That means the words you heard were not just sound to you. They were confirmation. They were a mirror. They were permission. Permission to finally believe that you deserve what you have been silently asking for years. Remember this. This morning, when you chose to continue, when you chose not to give up, when you chose calm over chaos, When you chose movement over paralysis, you did more for your future than 1,000 previous days did combined, because you broke a pattern. And when you break a pattern, you don't just change your day, you change the entire trajectory of your life. You change what your children will inherit from you emotionally. You change the spiritual weight your bloodline has been carrying for generations. You change the direction of the wealth that was destined to flow toward you, but had been diverted due to internal blocks. All of that because of one small, silent act this morning. The lesson you need to take with you is this: do not wait to feel ready to live your life. Do not wait to be completely healed to pursue your prosperity. Do not wait for the fear to disappear to believe in what your spirit is showing you. Start from where you are with what you have, feeling what you feel. The universe does not need your perfection. It needs your honesty. It needs your silent courage. It needs your willingness to continue, even when nothing externally confirms yet that you are on the right path. And if you reach this point in the message, I ask you to do one last thing. Keep this with you all day. When something frustrates you, remember that you are a person whom heaven is recalibrating at this very moment. When someone tries to drag you into drama, remember that your new frequency is no longer available for that. When you doubt yourself, remember that your spirit already did the hardest work this morning. The only thing left is to allow the results to arrive. If this message resonated with you, let me know in the comments exactly what it was you felt this morning. What small moment occurred that you now recognize as significant? Because when you share your experience, you give someone else permission to recognize theirs. And if you are ready to go deeper into the fortune matrix and discover how to attract the prosperity that your new energy can now sustain, you will find the link in the video description. But beyond that, there is another revelation waiting for you in our next message about the 3 specific signs you will receive in the next 7 days, confirming that your spiritual recalibration is real. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell because you won't want to miss what's coming. And before you go, let me tell you one last thing. If you are still here, listening, present, attentive, it is because your soul knows this was no accident. Trust what you feel today. Trust the stillness. Trust the silent change. And above all, trust that you deserve every good thing that is walking toward you right now. The universe canceled its plans for a reason. It is building something better, something made specifically for who you are becoming. And that, my friend, is just the beginning.